Okay, welcome back. Hopefully, Matt will be joining us. Oh, unfortunately, Matt's busy. Let me try again. A few hours ago, if you weren't here, Matt did pop in very, very briefly, and I did a Matt Dillahunty on Matt Dillahunty, and I kicked him out and said, "You're done, Matt Dillahunty," and I didn't think he was going to come back, but I know that I'm going to regret having done that. Matt, welcome to the show. It's great to see you.
Hey guys, how you doing?
We're doing well. Doing very well. And how about yourself?
I'm well rested. I went to sleep while you guys did a 24-hour show.
Oh, Matt, I've got an awful confession to make. Someone else took over the hosting for a while, and I had AC Grayling ready to come on the show, and I started making some notes about what I was going to ask him, and I put my head down on the desk for a few moments, and I woke up, and it was halfway through and he was there, and it was so embarrassing.
Oh no!
So I've been bitch slapped by Eugenie Scott, by Lawrence Krauss, by Neil deGrasse Tyson. I've had it all in 24 hours. It's been great fun. Aaron, you're not muting your mic. Matt, a couple of things we'll come on to before we start taking any calls. But if anyone wants to call in, I did lie in previous videos and everything. The Skype account that you will have to send a message to is, in fact, Magic Sandwich Show. So if you would like to join Aaron and Matt Dillahunty, we'll be having a private conversation, a conversation first, but then we'll be taking callers in a short while. So if you would like to talk to either Matt or Aaron, send a contact request to Magic Sandwich Show, all one word, all lowercase, and we will see if we can get you on. Matt, the first thing I would like to say is that you've got a wedding coming up.
I do.
And
I shouldn't say that now.
Even more bizarrely, I'd like to ask you who is actually going to be who is going to perform the marriage ceremony?
Well, see, I don't know how everybody else. I think it's that guy on my screen, but it may be that way on everybody else's screen. Aaron's doing the ceremony.
Aaron, talk us through this. How can you marry people? You can unmute your microphone now.
I just had to do that because you were telling me to mute my mic all night. And then you asked me a question, and I had to jump over two screens to go unmute it. Okay, anyway, how can I marry people? Well, not very effectively. I've already been divorced once. I've never done this before, but I'm going to be giving a very respectful ceremony. I myself was married in a Buddhist temple by a non-believer with the same ordination that I have, and I thought that she did a very good job. I will probably not have the note cards with me that she did. I'll probably do a better job than that, but I'm very much looking forward to it. I will be wearing a suit, albeit probably with a fedora, and I had offered to make a weird costume and a large silly hat, but Matt wanted something that his entire family would better be able to appreciate.
Yeah, the goal is to make sure that there's a lot of people on both sides of the family, of course, who are none too pleased with any of this, and don't understand it, don't know anything about atheists, who we are, or anything else. There are members of Beth's family who are convinced that I'm Satan incarnate. Maybe the headphones are hiding my horns, I don't know. But so we wanted to make sure that we had a ceremony where everybody felt as comfortable as possible, but we're not there's going to be nothing, certainly there'll be nothing pro-religion. I don't plan on there being anything anti-religion. It's supposed to be a celebration of, our union, and then an excuse to have some dinner with friends and drink and party, and let everybody know we're married.
Well, I hope it all goes very well, and I hope Aaron doesn't mess his lines up. Matt, I think it's a privilege to know you, and since I first got in contact with you before last year's show, it's apparent that you are highly motivated. And I think you've said this yourself. You very rarely turn down requests to appear. You've been very generous in your appearances on this show, and also donations to the eBay page. We'll come on to that in a second. But you also give public speeches, and you'll debate with people. What's the motive behind it all? What is your driving force?
I want to change the world. It's that it has to be. Early on, I would say, I would jokingly say that it was like penance for all the years that I spent on the other side of this, perhaps convincing people. I don't really think that. I think it's one of those things. I actually care about what kind of world I live in. I actually know beyond any doubt that there are people that can be reached, and I don't know exactly why I keep going at the pace that I go. But yeah, the only speaking engagements I've turned down lately are because of the wedding. And like today, the only reason I slept instead of trying to make it through the 24 hours with you guys is because I have to go do the Atheist Experience TV show later today, and I didn't want to fall asleep in the middle of it.
Just picking up on what you said, you want to make the world a better place. I'm kind of guessing that you mean you want to diminish the influence of religion. What, in your view, are the bad aspects of religion? Why do you think the world would be a better place without religion?
Yeah, I think it depends. I mean, religion isn't one thing. You can't roll it all up in a neat package. And there are certainly religions that are more or less harmful, more or less damaging. But we're talking about beliefs that are informing people's actions, and they're damaging to the individual, and they're often damaging to society. In a lot of cases, the damage happens to the people who are within the religion. In the case of people who believe in faith healing rather than going to doctors, children are dying because parents would rather pray than go down and actually see a physician. That probably irritates me more than just about anything. There are also a lot of spouses who are in relationships that they should not be in, but their particular religion is anti-divorce, or is such that for example, a lot of times the woman needs to be submissive. I would much rather empower people. I'd much rather have a society based on equality. I think it's obviously better. I don't even know why anybody would have to justify that. And then there's the damage that's done to the people who aren't part of that religion. The divisive nature of religion is such that there are a bunch of people out there, I get email from them all the time, who say, hey, I'm a non-believer, but I have nobody to interact with, and I'm afraid to say that I don't believe in this magical, supernatural stuff for fear that I might lose my job or I might lose my family. I got an email just this morning in preparation for the show. I could pull that up real quick. There's a guy, and I won't give you his name, but he says, I've been a theist for most of my life, Orthodox Jewish. I've lately been questioning much of my faith. I've read books by Richard Dawkins and viewed excerpts of your program on YouTube. I'm presently reading a book about David Hume. My newfound skepticism is wreaking havoc on me psychologically. I'm married with kids, and I feel I just can't come out publicly with my skeptical attitude without destroying my family, which I don't want to do. Anyway, I wrote to let you know you're having an effect on people. Keep up your good work. And that's a mild example of what comes in of people who are in really difficult situations. So between the damage done by people denying science and denying reality, failing to get medical treatment, right down to the social interactions between people that set people up as less than or ostracized, it's all damaging.
I mean, this is an aspect that I have to say that I was totally unaware of until I became involved in YouTube. Excuse me. And within the last couple of months, these are not the only examples, but I've heard of people who, like you say, cannot say that they're an atheist at work because they will get sacked. They can't say anything to their friends and family because they will sort of like, lose them. This is, it's such a different culture. It's very difficult for me to get my head around, but it's that sort of thing that I do find very, very troubling. And I think the work you do in that regard is great. But in doing so, I'm sure you, as Aaron probably does, and I do, we get criticised for, why can't you just respect my views? Why can't you just let me believe what I want? Why are you so aggressive and why are you so strident? Let me make a more specific question then. What do you think is the best approach with people? Do you think there's sort of like a broad method of doing it? Do you think you are particularly strident yourself? Because my view is this, and I'm sorry, I'm really rambling this question out. My view is this, that however you approach them, there is going to come a point where you reach the stage where they're going to say, well, I believe, and they may say, well, I've got evidence for it. And at that stage, you're going to say, no, you fucking haven't. And it doesn't matter how nice you are in getting to that point, you're going to reach that point. So I don't see how you cannot be offensive.
Yeah, it's very, very likely that it's going to be impossible, especially when you're talking about people who may be offended by your very existence. As to what the best approach is, I think there's a room for all sorts of approaches. I have no problem at all with people who address, religion in a much more, I don't even know that it's more nice or pleasant than what I do, because I've used every approach over the course of the years of the show. But I think there is a best way, and the best way, despite the negative reaction you will often get, is confrontation. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean hostility, but I have yet to meet somebody who's changed their mind on something without being confronted by a direct opposition. It doesn't mean you have to be necessarily in your face or, yelling or anything like that. But if you don't challenge them, and that is, okay, what evidence have you got? Can you provide that evidence? If you don't put something forward, you might as well not even have the conversation, because it reminds me of the let's just agree to disagree. No, fuck that. We already knew we disagreed before we started the conversation. Why would you end it that way? That makes no sense to me.
I couldn't agree more. Aaron, what's your take on this?
Well, I just wanted to say that as we know statistically in the United States, most atheists are former believers. And so it's not that everyone out there is poisoned. And the confrontation that he's talking about is valuable. I mean, even in my own case, I never bought the creationism story the way that other people did. But because everybody believed it, I thought there had to be some truth in that. And when I finally encountered somebody who told me flat out that the flood never happened and that's it, I wasn't aware that anyone didn't believe that the world was once flooded all over at once. And so it is necessary to realize that there is another perspective you're permitted to have. And as I said in Dublin, I didn't know that it was possible to question the existence of God, because absolutely everybody I knew believed in God. And as somebody else mentioned in Dublin also, we who do not believe this are offensive to people simply because we exist, and there's no way to avoid offending these people. But you don't have to be belligerent about it. You have to remember that. And I've encountered some people that I had the option to be rude, to be condescending, and I chose not to. And in a couple of those cases, or at least one that comes to mind immediately, that person not only changed her entire perspective, but now heads a free thought movement here in Texas. And if I had taken the caustic approach, she certainly would not be the activist that she is now. So you have to look at everyone as being a potential ally, even if they hold ridiculous beliefs now.
I don't know. Sorry, Matt, to go on.
Okay.
I just find it because I get frustrated, particularly with those, as I say, that claim that they've got evidence, as opposed to, well, it's just my belief. And I don't always conduct myself in a particularly wonderful manner, I know, but